Hi, I'm Daniel Holter. I have a company called The License Lab, which is a production company offering 10 unique labels globally through Universal Production Music. And I wanted to talk you through each of these labels, hit some of the high points, play a couple examples, and give you just a real quick bird's eye view of what we do as a company and the different types of catalogs that we produce. Let's start with this production music label guide that we put together for our website. First up, we've got Eyeballs and Eardrums, Analog Champion, Underscore, Hype Kit, Picture Puncture, Elemental Records, 3 Ingredients or Less, Organic Spark, Modus Operandi Production Music, and Dancing About Architecture. Analog Champion, kind of gritty, kind of old school. We produce each of these releases with era-specific equipment, gear that is appropriate for the type of music that's being recorded. And we've tried to present this series as records you might have found in places in your life. So each of the album descriptions reference finding it in your uncle's record bin, or finding a record at the street fair, things like that. A few of these favorites of ours are hip hop, yacht rock, gypsy folk, soul organ. And I'll play a couple examples for you from my favorite records in this series. There's a surf record that is fantastic. Here's a bit. I'm also real proud of our New Wave UK record that features music for fans of The Cure, The Smiths, New Order, bands like that. Here's a little snippet. Also especially proud of our punk album, which is described as Middle Finger Noise Rebellion. I think it's appropriate. There's a good chance it'll offend some people, but that's what punk is, and I'm really proud of how this record turned out.
Everybody will be all up in your face, yeah! Skate punk full, I believe it's true. Where we gonna go? What we gonna do? Skate punk full, I believe it's true. There's nothing in the sound in all the kids like me and you. Skateboarding is not a crime. Skate!
Eyeballs and Eardrums. The basic concept for this originally was finding a home for unique and independent artists who were interested in production music but had a little different take on things. So they're coming at production music from the place of being an independent artist and not as production music composers who are looking to make another record. I think all of Eyeballs and Eardrums has been built from relationships I've had with interesting creative people in my life who wanted to be in this space, in commercial music, licensing, sync, production music, but didn't have a home for the way they heard music in their head. And we leave a lot of interesting, greasy, dusty bits on here. Again, it feels a bit more like an independent record label, and it's curated like one. There's a lot of love and passion that goes into Eyeballs and Eardrums. There are emerging genres and audio atmospheres that include vintage synths, some sweaty grooves. There's acoustic folk that was improvised in the moment by 2 incredible players sitting and watching each other in a live room and recording what they did. Just interesting concepts like that for records that I really think are perfect for scenes that you don't quite know what you're looking for, and you want some music that will actually set you down a creative path and kind of lead to an edit idea. That's the concept behind Eyeballs and Eardrums. Some standouts for me are Filthy Funk, which is Eyeballs and Eardrums 27. That was a live band in a room. If you're a fan of it, we kind of were watching like the Wolfpack videos to get a sense of what we wanted to do style-wise in the room on the day. We actually feature Angie Swan on that album on guitar, recently off a stint on Broadway with David Byrne's American Utopia. Phenomenal guitarist, fantastic human being. I'm super proud that she's on that record. I love how it turned out. Another album that I'm really proud of in that series is Acoustic Contours, which I was just talking about, the way that we got 2 guys in a room and improvised some folk music together. That was Chris Porterfield and Michael Rosetto. responding to each other live in the moment, and we recorded it and made an album out of it. We've got some fantastic guests on Eyeballs and Eardrums as composers and players, including Jason McGurr from Death Cab for Cutie. Tom Winsack from Bon Iver and Volcano Choir. Extraordinarily talented friends who were creatively generous and jumped onto records that I really thought they would add something to what we were doing with Eyeballs and Eardrums. And I think the results speak for themselves. I'd love to know if you unearthed some gem in there that hasn't been used yet. I love finding that stuff out. One last note, this is another example of us beating trends. We actually did a vintage synth album before Stranger Things. Just like we beat K-pop to the market, we came out with our K-pop record on our Hype Kit label before Psy's Gangnam Style hit the States. We really try to stay ahead of those trends and don't love chasing trends. I want to be ahead on those things. Eyeballs and Eardrums, Hype Kit, these are labels where you'll find things like that are on the rise in the culture around us. The next label I want to talk about is Hype Kit, which we produce the inverse of the way a lot of albums are produced, I think in the industry, but certainly in our catalog. The other 9 labels we make we produce the full-length track and cut down a promo 30. Most of the time, we're producing a promo 30 that is separate and isolated from the full length. So we're actually crafting a 30-second piece, not just scanning back 30 seconds from the end and hitting start and calling it a 30-second edit. We really do pride ourselves on creating promo 30s that are explicitly promo 30s. But Hype Kit is the inverse of that. We actually produce a promo 30 first, and the full-length versions on Hype Kit are extended remixes of that 30. It's our promo-specific label. It's full of swagger, energy, attitude, a lot of hype and sizzle, hence the name, meant for promos. It's great for, as we say on the site here, crowd pumping promos, highlight reels, team backstories, Technicolor adverts, dramatic moments, and whatever else you can dream up. Again, we did K-pop. This is where that K-pop record is. We had that on the market before Psy hit with Gangnam Style. We've got trap in here. We've got hip hop, obviously, future pop, synth work. We've got just some fantastic records, all ahead of the curve in terms of what the culture wants. Some standout albums include Future Bass. Here's a little bit of that. We just put out an album called Combat Rock that is filled with testosterone and great for monster trucks. Here's a bit of Combat Rock. Let's talk about Elemental Records. I wanted to have a record label that had songs and radio-ready production, but was created with placements and sync in mind. So Elemental Records has been born out of producer-artist collaborations that are meant to grab the best bits of what it means to be an artist and to have a song and have something to say, but produce it with production, music, and sync licensing in mind. As the site says, we distill commercial music to its most vital components: craft and passion, form and utility, the 4 elements of the very best songs crafted specifically for licensing. This whole label is filled with indie aesthetics from unique artist-producer collaborations. They're radio-ready singles often. We've got some EPs in here. I've got some other people mixing and mastering based on what might be appropriate for the artist or for the genre. And there's almost always full vocal production, lyrics, full vocal hooks on Elemental. Not always the case, but virtually always. That's kind of the state of Elemental Records. We've got singles on here that feature Prof. Peasy, Sherrod Sloans, who's working with Business Boy in LA. We've got Ryan Nacy writing for this, he's a writer in Nashville with a legit songwriting deal. We made a bunch of great tracks down at Blackbird in Nashville with some guest vocalists even. Ryan's not the only one singing on those. Really proud of this label and the way it's coming together. There's a couple releases on this label that we've had loads of comments on over the years. One of which is Sunny Like Sunday by MJ and the Attraction. There's a short EP from Prof Peasy called On the Run.
They want to see me locked up, but I can't see that. Eyes is on the green and I can't relapse to my pride state. $5 dates, I be that cat who flying out of state for the holiday. My place detached.
We've got an Irish fight song from a band called Rage Baiter. Brothers from the Neighborhood. Turned out great. On Your Heels, Dancing with the Devil are Ryan Nacy hits. He also did a tune called Win Some, Lose Some. Modus operandi, production music. We actually have production music in the name of this series. It's the most production music-y production music that we offer. It's meant for daytime television, news, weather, sports, you know the drill. But also a bunch of leisure stuff. You've got sports music, you've got podcast stuff, nature documentaries. Every Modus operandi album has at least 3 tracks that are in the exact same key and the exact same tempo. Meaning not only can you edit 3 full tracks together, but when you get into the stems that are available on this whole series and on most of our series, the possibilities really expand. So if you're trying to score a 10 or 20 minute mini documentary, long form application where you need to get between different pieces of music, you can find multiples on each of these albums from Modus Operandi that work together. And it really means, you could, by combining stems, you can go on for a long, long time without getting bored with your edit, which is, I think, really, really powerful. There's endless options for all kinds of programming on here. It's a great workhorse label that we get tons of great compliments on from clients for years, which is awesome. Some standouts are Organic Exploratorium, I like Live Local Late Breaking, which is a cute play on news music. Synthesized Life Forms, which fits obviously the Stranger Things vibe again with synths. And lastly, on Modus Operandi, I'm particularly proud of an album called Inspiring Friends, which is a tribute to one of my heroes, Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Is produced by Sam Ekoff, has been a longtime friend and collaborator of mine. I think Sam really knocked it out of the park with that album. We wanted to give a nod to what he's meant to us as human beings and as kids growing up in the 70s and 80s, but also really do him right by creating some inspiring music that hopefully the next Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood can find and use on their show. I think that would be an awesome outcome for that record. Here's a little bit of that. Let's talk about picture puncture. We were asked to do trailer music and promo music and sound effects, sound design, and I thought that doesn't really fit in any of our other labels. Let's create a brand around it. We called that Picture Puncture. The tagline I came up with was, when everything is epic, nothing is epic. I feel like the industry has plenty of epic music. Certainly on the Universal site, there's just so much great epic music. I didn't want to just do more of the same thing. So we're creating drones and sound design and some trailer music that is a little bit of a different twist on trailer music, I hope. It's not our biggest label by far, but we put a lot of time and energy into crafting some really unique stuff in this series, which I'm really, really proud of. It's got themes and scores, sound design, powerful accents, visual accents. We intend for it to be used on the big screen and on video games and in advertising. Standout albums on Picture Puncture include the Equilibrium anthology and then the companion remix record that we made from those themes. Every trailer theme that we did on the original, we remixed both in electronic rock and with a hip-hop version with vocals. Just one of the ways we try to do something a little bit different with Picture Puncture.
Me now, only hope to contain me. I'm on top of my game, can't you tell I'm bigger than life? I want it all, I'ma get it tonight. I won't stop till I'm bigger than life. Till I'm bigger than life.
I'm also really proud of two albums that we did back to back, Ambient Guitar Positive and Ambient Guitar Negative. I did these with my friend Chris Porterfield from the band Field Report. We set up in my studio and made noise for a couple days. And I took those performances, they were live performances that Chris did on guitar with his effects rig, and I did some post-processing to create soundscapes that I thought would work really well in this space. They were used extensively in scoring some documentaries a few years ago, but they still have just a lot of emotional content for being technically drones. I'm really proud of them. Here's a little taste of that. That's hard to preview in a 10 or 15 second thing. I hope you go check out the record because it's really, really compelling. Organic Spark is a label that is produced in Nashville. We've got some of the top hitmakers and session players in Nashville, the best city in the world for session talent, creating music for our label Organic Spark. We describe Organic Spark as bringing a major label approach to independent inspiration. Most of Organic Spark is slick and shiny, really clean, really well polished, produced well, kind of spit shined and ready for air. I think a lot of people in the production music space lean pretty hard on a list of credits that don't really mean anything if the music isn't there. And so Organic Spark has players that have earned Grammys, earned all the top awards. They're on all your favorite records. They're on everything from Taylor Swift to the Civil Wars to Miranda Lambert to Samuel Hunter to Taylor Swift and Jewel and who else? George Strait, Luke Bryan, the Temptations. They're fantastic players and producers and writers. But the point of the label is not to foist their resumes on you. The point is to gather all that talent, create music that's meant for this space with a Nashville approach. And that's what we did with Organic Spark music. There's a couple of standout records on Organic Spark that I'd love to talk with you about. Organic Spark 83, Modern Country Volume 2. No better place to do modern country than Nashville, USA. Here's a little bit of that. Going back to Organic Spark 40 is an album called Sunshine Kids, which we get a lot of play with. Again, kind of the best of the sunshiny approach that Organic Spark gives your productions. Full of smiles and sunshine. Here's a little bit of that. Organic Spark also has a series of national anthems. We've got some Americana music, synthful motivation stuff, organic, uplifting indie soundtracks, and a bunch of holiday music. So a whole bunch of stuff in Organic Spark. Fantastic music. Organic Spark also has one of my favorite records we've ever put out in the License Lab catalog. It's an album called The Big Swing, Organic Spark 51. It's great swing music, old school swing music, big band style. Organic Spark is also home to one of those albums I was talking about that hasn't been used very often because it's a little left to center. It's really interesting. An album called Think Spot, Organic Spark 39. Here's a little taste of that. In contrast to some of my other descriptions of the labels we produce, 3 ingredients or less is relatively easy. There's only 3 things in every track. Sometimes there's multiple guitars that are making one element, but these are really simple arrangements, and the musicianship is off the charts. The space that we include in these tracks allows the musicianship to really show through, and the emotion of the player in the moment. The vast majority of the series is live recordings, real players, human beings making music. Pure, simple, genuine, as our tagline says, sometimes less is more. When the performances are genuine and the music is inspired, any more than a trio is overkill. We've got some great music in this series. There's a release on this label called Root Cellar, which is rootsy, organic music. Sidecar Noir uses stems from our own catalog as creative inspiration that explores the space between jazz and hip-hop. Underscore was the first label we released as the License Lab back in 2010. It's my response to what I thought at the time was too many people in the industry trying to make production music something it isn't. It doesn't need to be songs. In fact, songs often don't work for what we need Underscore to be. Obviously, hence the name. So if your typical production music track is an A section followed by a B section, repeat the A section, hit another B section. I thought, what if we create a whole label that is just A sections, just constantly slowly growing moods and genres that end with a question mark. So you can cut to black and go to commercial and leave listeners wanting something. And then we produce an editable stinger that is kind of the root note, the resolution of each track that you can edit into your project anywhere you need something to resolve. But you've got kind of the best of both worlds. You're looking for music for cult horror shows, TV promos, cyberpunk dystopias, slow-mo martial arts. Under the Surface might be a good place to find some of that stuff. Here's a little bit of that. Under one roof, we've got 2 volumes of this, Volume 1 and Volume 2, unsurprisingly. 2 albums that really capture the complexities of home life and family life, a lot of acoustic instrumentation. The inspiration for these releases was soundtracks like Parenthood and This Is Us, things like that. Also some real wild cards in Underscore, including this track from Under My Breath, which is dubstep made entirely with the human voice. Dancing About Architecture is built around the idea that talking about music is like dancing about architecture. These are unique genre blends and esoteric stylings that are really interesting mashups often of styles that you wouldn't normally expect. There's a definite European bent to this. It is produced by our friends in Europe. I'm especially proud of the releases Geek Beats, which is 8-bit kind of retro video game stuff. And there's a really cool album on here called Palindroma, which we did for Palindrome Day a little while back. Produced it with my friend in Portland, Aaron Ebbage, who has since gone on to make some extraordinary records that you might have heard, including Lizzie McAlpine. There's a post about this process, the project, and how we went about it that goes a bit into the how and the why of Palindroma. And it speaks to exactly the type of records that I really like to make, which is coming up with an interesting concept that maybe hasn't been done, ideally hasn't been done, and finding our way to put something into the universe that is unique and original. There are some of those musical curveballs sprinkled all through our labels. Weirdly proud of them. I don't mind that not many people have found them or used them yet. I really think when the right person does, it's going to be an obvious match made in heaven, and we'll have a fan for life. So good luck unearthing some of those hidden gems. I'm really proud of Palindroma and albums like it. Okay, that's a quick overview of what we offer as a company, as a production company. The License Labs, 10 labels. They're all available globally through Universal Music. I'm really grateful that you take the time to listen to what we're making. We're really proud of it. I hope you find this music useful in your productions, and I look forward to talking to you again. See ya.